All right. Welcome those watching outside of the Discord. This is going to be an Alpha Sharks overview. We'll be going over some of the view features, and hopefully we have a live play to go over some of the interesting metrics that we have to go over. So we're going to let some people jump in here, and we'll get started. All right. Welcome those watching outside Discord, so via Twitch and Twitter and YouTube as well. We'll be going over an Alpha Sharks view overview today. We're going to go a little more in depth on some indicators today. Will be kind of the same breakdown of how we get to certain projects because we might have a live play today. But we're actually going to go a little more in depth. So let's actually pull up our screen. All right. So first things first, one of the main things I like to do is, again, go on the 24-hour time frame, and under the trending page, I do like to see, again, where the volume is. I want to see where the demand's actually flowing through. And with this, we can easily just see, again, where's the actual volume coming in at, how much volume is actually coming in. So notice triple digit ETH is something that we do like to look for. This LNR and this Garden Lockdown, Ubuntu, might be botching how I say that right, but 419 ETH traded, quite a bit. And down here, Corntown with 100 ETH traded, pretty solid. So we're noticing anything with triple digit ETH is pretty prominent. Notice Kitaro as well, 441 ETH. Biplane Bobo. So we kind of have a few different plays kind of happening within the last 24 hours. So what I like to do is go into smaller time frames. If we do have more projects that we're slinging with lots of volume, we definitely want to see which ones are kind of being in the move as of now, or at least for what we're looking for as of right now. So we can see 62 ETH volume traded. So double digit ETH volume traded is going to be very solid for the 6 hour. Notice Kitaro with triple digit ETH, 116 ETH volume traded, which we can see it's actually the most in the last 6 hours that we can see right here. So that's definitely something we're going to want to keep an eye on. And anything here with above 50 ETH traded is something that we're definitely going to want to have an eye on as we go into lower level time frames. So let's go into something like a 15-minute. And let's see what is quote unquote normal again for the time frame that we're actually looking at. We can see here 2.5 ETH is actually taking out the first 3 projects that we can see, but then right here, Genuine Undead with 4.4 ETH traded in the last 15 minutes. Obviously, this one has a little more weight to it because it's been out a little longer. So this could be a potential move in this longer term play. But we want to see something with more transactions. So something like Lumens by Vibes plus Logic. Is anybody actually in that inside the chat? Or is anybody in Dino Reveal so that we can have a preference of which one to go over? Or is there a preference of which one we want to go over today? Probably end up going over both, but we'll see. G to the O decided not to buy those at this moment. Smart. All right, we're gonna look at Dino Reveal right now, just because it has more transactions. I just kind of want to see something. So right here, we can see that we're actually, oops, come on. For our span, what I like to do is put that on the biggest time frame I can, just to see again where the actual project has actually started. I want to know where in the cycle that we actually are. So in that case, we do want to definitely see the price action at this point. And since this is unrevealed, we do ideally want to change this to P&L, because this would give us an idea of, again, who's in profit and who's not in profit. Also kind of gives us a clearer indication of our volume bars and getting to see where the actual volume is coming in. And this is kind of falling into place of what I kind of wanted to display today. Let's see if it falls in line though. Okay. We might have a live player here. Okay. So first things first, I just went from the Alpha Sharks view, the expert view, down into the trading view chart system. And reason for that, again, in the Alpha Sharks view, I can see, again, who's in profit and loss. We can see there's a few red dots up here, meaning there's probably people buying the top and losing out on the royalties and stuff here. Then what I do like to come into TradingView for is there's one thing that we do like to talk about a lot, and it's picking out ranges, meaning in order to solidify a range, we have to have a top portion and we have to have a bottom portion, right? And the beautiful thing about this particular example with Dino Reveal, really, what is kind of our bottom range at this point, 0.002. I mean, really the bottom is going to be 0 on that. So we can literally use 0 as a bottom range. And we already have here what we call a top portion of our range, which again, we can see with just a simple trend line that sellers were actually in control of this, because what we had here is we had sells coming up, buyers starting to come in, and then we can see what happened around this zone if we switch to the next view. So go to Alpha Shark's view. What happened right here? People lost money, right? And how can we tell that? Because again, there was this portion right here where people were buying it up, where they thought it was going to break out of the last high. And sadly enough, we just did not do that. And due to the volume not coming in at that point, here, notice the volume's actually rising a bit, but when we hit that last high, volume just started to retract. We did not get the volume increasing there. So ideally, what we want to do now here, we can see we're obviously on the downtrend. We can have our trend line being drawn from the top portion and having a bottom trend line being drawn on the bottom portion as well. So here we can see we're playing within a range. And one of the main things I do like to show people is to pull up your volume chart on the bottom. And how we're going to be able to do that is going to settings. So yours probably looks something like this. Probably looks something like this right now. Meaning it's probably stuck within the chart and you have volume candlesticks and your price action candlesticks kind of stuck within each other. In order to fix that, what you're going to want to do is go into the 3 little dots on the right side, go into move to, and you either want to put this in a pane below or in the pane above. Personally, I like to put it in a pane below. And what the pane below is going to do is now you have the option to only see price action or to only see the indicator that you're looking at, which is volume. And the way you're going to do that is just double clicking on the chart or double clicking on the portion of the indicator portion that you're looking at. And here you can actually change the size of it. So if you wanted to see more volume, less price action, you can kind of configure that your way. So this is one major thing that we're obviously looking at all times. We have multiple kind of ways to look at volume, right? So we have multiple transactions that would pop up if we do see price action coming in. We have our sales counts that are purple that we want to see rise over here. We want our volume candlesticks, our blue candlesticks, to actually start rising over here. And ideally, we want our supply to start going down as well. So this is kind of we want to see lots of correlation kind of lining up for this kind of move to happen. And one of the major things that we talk about a lot is going to be supply and demand. And again, the reason why we look at listings, amount of listings majorly, is because it's directly correlated to the amount of supply. And whenever we happen to start seeing, so right here we're at, what are we at? About 877 listings right now. So what I'm looking for personally, since we're at a bottom trendline zone, and again, what's our bottom? Our bottom's 0, pretty much. So what's our risk factor at that point? 0.002. If we're looking to dip by this up. But ideally, yeah, this is near a bottom zone, but it can ideally still go lower. And what's going to kind of determine that is going to be who's in control, buyers or sellers. And right now we can see there's no buyers coming into this. People are selling up the U-Haul right now. And we can see that through a few different ways, right? We can see that with our volume candlesticks, and we can see that with our amount of listings. This right here is something getting bought up on the top portion up here. But the algorithm will fix that right now. You'll actually see another candlestick kind of just forming right here. So one of the other things I did want to bring in to kind of show you guys here, I don't think we'll get it with this live example, but I do want to show it on one of the other ones that we're looking at, because I think it's kind of a better example of that. Let me see if there's any questions. Decide to not buy these at the moment. Okay, solid. I think the other one that we're looking at has a better, this lumens right here actually has some more transactions coming in. So this is kind of a better looking chart right here, because we're actually in trend phase somewhat. So let's actually go in here. And one of the main things I like to look at, again, is I want to see how far this project was kind of coming along. So let's throw this on like a 5-minute chart. You can see, okay, this is probably a better looking chart right here. What I'm going to do is take this off. Yeah, there you go. There. So here, one of the moves we can actually see kind of look like the last one, right? We had the run up to the top, and then we tried to get the breakout to the high and just couldn't, right? And then we actually funneled down back to a low. But notice what actually happened here. Again, this price action is not like random at all. I'm going to show you another kind of tool that you guys can use to help see these kind of breakout moves, because again, this could have gone either way. It just happened to be that volume helped us to get over and break out of the actual range that we're playing within. So drawing trend lines, guys, is again one of the major things that we want to do, and having them line up on bigger time frames is probably one of the most helpful things as well, because the more data these candlesticks calculate, the bigger the breakout happens to be because of the amount of accumulation inside that zone. So we can pretty much see we had kind of this formation just showing up, right? Kind of making, we had our top range, bottom range, and then lower high, but we also had higher lows until we, again, just couldn't squeeze that until anymore. And again, what was the major factor that kind of helped us kick into gear was our actual volume here. And there's another indicator that I'm going to go over today, and it's going to be the MACD. You guys are definitely going to want to add this to your charts if you guys don't have this yet. We'll kind of go over an explanation of what it is and kind of how to utilize it. But this is a very, very powerful indicator. I really suggest that you take notice to this. So this is going to be called the MACD. MACD is going to stand for Moving Average Convergence Divergence. And basically what that is a momentum oscillator that basically calculates distance of moving averages. And if that kind of sounds like mumbo jumbo to everybody, basically what we're doing is we're trying to see if the momentum is going to be bullish or bearish within a certain time period. And again, we'll go over exactly what I mean by that. So right here, let's actually take off volume for now and just have our MACD up and price action. So we're gonna have a few little indicators here. So first one you'll see is this blue line, right? That's gonna be the actual MACD. That's gonna be calculated by a 12 period EMA minus a 26 period EMA. And for technical junkies, if you guys want to go in there, these are basically the moving averages that they're calculated by. You have a fast one, a slow one, and you have the signal, which is basically the amount of periods that it's calculating across. So this is the amount of candlesticks that it's actually calculating throughout these moving averages. And if you guys have any questions on super technicals of these indicators, just send me a message. I can probably break it down a lot better in there as well. But that's going to be our blue line, our MACD, and that's going to be, again, our kind of faster moving average that's being calculated. Then you're going to notice an orange kind of moving average. That's going to be our MACD signal line. And again, that's going to be a 9 period EMA of the MACD. So it's an EMA of this EMA. And basically what we're looking at is we're looking for the crossing of either of them. And what this is going to help with is going to help show us who's in control. Is it going to be buyers that are in control, or is it going to be sellers that are in control? And how we kind of look at this is pretty much mainly the crossings. So let me go over this histogram that you guys are also seeing. Let me take this away. So this histogram that we're looking at, this histogram is calculated by calculating the MACD line, the blue line, and subtracting the MACD signal line, which was the orange line that we had up, which are these two. And that's how it's actually calculating the histogram itself. The reason the histogram is so useful is because notice the heat map coloring on them. Basically, the deeper the color, the stronger the trend is in that direction. Meaning, if it's solid green here, it's meaning that there's very solid buying pressure coming through at this point. And this is something that we have to notice when we actually start getting buying pressure to sell off. Notice how price action reacts to that. Notice we peaked here with max price action kind of pushing on our MACD, and then we kind of just started to lose the momentum, right? And then we started to get to our crossing or a zero line where colors actually started to change. And pretty much what that's indicating is change of the intermediate trend. And again, this is going to really rely on what time frame that you're on. If you're on a 1 minute, you're going to get chopped up pretty solid. But the reason why this worked out so well is because this was on a 5 minute chart. And notice our price action, this range that we had from from about here. That's a solid 5 hours of kind of accumulation, and then it kind of had to exert that that movement because again somebody took over. And the reason why we had, notice right where we happened to cross on our MACD crossing right here, this is telling us that hey, sellers are not in control anymore, and it looks like we're going to start getting some buying pressure to start coming in. Again, look, I'm not going to move my cursor or anything. Look at where we happen to break out. Right there. Right where our MACD actually crossed as well. Again, that's not a random coincidence. It's literally just more statistics that we're using to our side. And again, one of the cool things here is saying, hey, notice when we actually ran out of momentum for the time being. Again, notice how that kind of reacted to the price action up here. So it's a very, very powerful tool to kind of utilize. And for those who've been in multiple sessions, when we break out of a range, we're looking for a 100% move, right? Notice right where that 100% move happened to be. Right where our MACD is telling us that we're losing momentum. And that would make sense, right? Because that's a price target that we're looking to take profits at. And again, if multiple people have that same perspective, it's probably a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point, to kind of get some retrace in price action. And when we finally get that breakout, again, what happens when we come back and retest a prior, what was resistance? Notice we kind of just bounce off that and just continue the trend, and we haven't looked back since. And notice momentum's going back in our favor, and look at what's happening with listings at this point. So we have multiple things kind of lining up for this push to continue as of now. Again, not saying that this is a buy signal or anything like that, but just showing the structure of kind of how this actually worked out and how you could have utilized different a different indicator to kind of help you see where these people are going to be in control and where the momentum is actually taking place. Yeah, I hope that's kind of a nice breakdown for y'all. This indicator is huge, guys. And it's probably one of my favorite. Though it is one of my favorite, it can be manipulated through price action, right? Because let's understand again what the MACD is calculating. The MACD is just a moving average, right? And what's a moving average? Moving average is just calculating price action over a certain period of time. But the way this could be skewed is if you actually have some wash trading going on, meaning like people would like the Ella, I forgot, like the ENS kind of names, and if they're kind of trading to themselves on separate platforms, that could kind of indicate false, for like manipulated price action, which then would give us a manipulated MACD, because again, it's kind of based on a moving average. So you kind of have to be a little wary of that, and this is why I really suggest using it on a bigger time frame. And the more you can kind of get these to align on bigger time frames, the better they happen to work out. So like this happens to be on a 5-minute, but if we happen to change this to, let's say, a 15-minute, notice how much greater that breakout happens to be right here at the MACD. It's just a cleaner breakout because again, we're looking at more data being calculated at that point per candlestick. But notice this will give you a later entry because again, this is calculating at a slower pace because you need each candlestick to actually close. So seeing it saying like, hey, if we're starting to get near a topping on the 15, I might want to start going into the 5-minute and start seeing are we starting to cross over 2, or are we still continuing and our sales still coming in pretty heavy? It's kind of something you want to look at as well, and also in correlation with our volume and listings. So kind of a lot of things to kind of go over, but utilizing this can again really help you see kind of again who's in control, as long as the price again is not very manipulated, or there's not lots of wash trading kind of going on at the time. But yeah, you definitely want to use this in more liquid type assets. So something that's not trading or hasn't had to trade in like 10 minutes, that's probably not going to be something very useful for you. because again, MACD is calculated on price action, and you need price action to actually get these calculations going. So let's actually see if there's any questions. All right. Were there any questions that anybody had? Just gonna open up the floor a bit. Kind of don't want to overthrow you guys. Yeah, go ahead. So which one are you talking about? There's two. There's two that I'm using here. The one that we went over is the MACD, and the other one I have is just volume. So right now, yours probably looks something like this. Yeah. So here you go. So right now, if yours probably looks something like this, as opposed to the colors, if you go into the setting gear right here, you can change the colors to whatever you want. I turn on the volume MA, which is the moving average, just because I like to see and calculate volume. And again, that's just an average saying like, hey, this is the average volume at this price point. So I can just get a visual aid of seeing like, if we're over that white line, we're above average on volume. And that's kind of just a quick indication for myself. And what I like to do is I like to move it to a pane below, so I can then kind of manipulate price action and my indicators as pleased. So I can make this as big as I want or as small as I want, and kind of save that as well. You might have to kind of look into sharing a template. I think you like make a copy. You might be able to do that. Um, I'm gonna have to make a in-depth video on TradingView, but TradingView is its own kind of rabbit hole itself. Um, but mainly, the one thing I would do is put volume on the bottom. That's just again a personal preference. And then to do what we're going over today, all you have to do is go into indicators and type in MACD, MACD, and then tap that, and it should pop up on the bottom portion for you. If it doesn't, it will pop up right here, and all you'll have to do is go to the three little dots and then move to existing pane below. And it'll kind of put it in its own thing. Just because there's not a lot of space here, I like to kind of put my stuff together so you can move both of them into like one. That's just because I've been using this for a bit, so I can kind of visually see this and I know what's going on. But if you don't, you can again just keep that separate, and you can just double tap in there to kind of zoom in if you like really needed to. Yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question there. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Were there any other questions regarding, especially that MACD? Because I really want you guys to kind of understand that, and to start messing around with that just a little bit, because I get a lot of DMs with people not being able to, I guess, see the buyers and the sellers coming in. Like, we can visually see the transactions coming in and the listings rising, but being able to see who's actually in charge, I mean, even with our momentum chart here, I think it's a little tough to kind of put that together. I think having our volume and our MACDs kind of vertically set up with each other, just with a simple trend line, we could have easily just seen that this was a technical breakout, and we had our buying pressure starting to come in at this point. And again, what were we doing? We're just creating higher lows. We didn't break trend at that point yet. And this again would have gave us that's it would have solidified the, I guess, dip buying entry right here. And again, we can also come in here and see what's happening with our volume. I mean, there you go. At this point, our volume is actually rising. And again, looking back at that moving average that I have, if our volume is above that line, that means buyers are in control. Plus, our MACDs starting to spread across from that moving average, saying that we're starting to kick into trend. And we're not going to lose the trend until the sellers start actually coming in and want to take this over. But notice one thing, and that's why we start with trend lines, is one major reason we haven't broke down yet is we haven't broken trend. And yeah, we're getting our momentum to kind of slow down a little bit, but again, look at what's happening with our listings here. This is probably one of the most key things that we're going to want to look at for the retrace that is kind of inevitable, right? Because if you have people that are buying 0.0005 and you're getting a, what is that, 4x, 5x, you're going to have some people start listing at some point. And we can start seeing that with our grouped holders down here. But this is interesting as listings just keep going lower. But you'll see if this actually happens starting to break this little trend that it has going on for listings itself, like this little trend line, and starts breaking up, we'll start to see our MACD starting to cross under, because again, what that would tell us is that sellers are in control at this point. And that, yeah, there might be buying pressure coming in, but there's more people that want to get out of a position. And we can see that by, again, the color coding on the people who are selling. So like the people with 10 plus 5 to 9 tokens, yeah, they're wanting to get out because they probably got some that were all the way down here, and they're probably up 4 or 5 times of their position. So really depends right now on, again, who's in control. Again, breaking it down to the supply and demand. That's pretty much what this indicator is kind of just calculating. It's calculating the distance of the moving averages between each other, which is just price action happening. So let's see what happens with listings here. They're kind of just floating kind of off this top little trend line. It's very key. Are we going to utilize this as support, or are we going to break back down into the range, and then we're going to just start getting back into a kind of a chopped zone, looking for another dip buying opportunity, or looking for kind of the breakdown? Really dependent on kind of these two things. Is momentum going to stay in the bull's favor, or are we going to start crossing under? And our listings, what our listings going to do? That's very key in correlation with this as well. Because if we start getting momentum to keep pushing and listings starting to go down, this thing's still got room to run. But if this starts to cross right below us and listings start to rise and break this little trend line that it's kind of had over the last 30-45 minutes, then we'll likely see the retrace coming in here. So I see we're pushing the hour right here. Again, just wanted to open it up to you guys if there were any questions or comments, concerns that you guys had with Alpha Sharks just in general. We'll be going a little more in depth on, again, some of these indicators that we're using, but we do have something really interesting coming out soon. Again, I can't really put a timeline on what soon is, but we're gonna have some new toys to be playing with. So it's really it's really key that if you are here right now, that you start to understand what we're actually doing, because it's not going to get easier. So if you guys have any questions, again, there's no dumb question. If you have a question, it's very likely that somebody else has that question as well. Yeah, no questions. No. All right. I guess if we don't have questions, I'm just gonna wrap this up. Yeah. Cool. All right. Going once. Going twice. Sold. All right. There's no more questions. We'll wrap this up here. And again, if you guys have any questions on anything kind of going on in Sharks, if you guys are looking for stats that you guys need any more breakdown on, definitely shoot me a tag. You can DM me. You can DM my Twitter. Everything's pretty much open. Again, make sure you try to draw your trend lines and try to utilize this MACD. Again, if you don't kind of get the concept of it, again, reach out to me. I don't mind going back and explaining this at all. You're good. Corn? No, we can though. Mm, right. The wick. Yeah. Let me see if my thing would load. Um, yeah, when you're getting into like when you're drawing stuff out like that, you're gonna start getting into more of like the patterns, which is a little more advanced. So like when you're looking for a specific like, oh, like what percent am I looking for on a pullback, or like how far am I looking to project on something, that's really going to be kind of a case by case basis, because it's going to be per pattern or per setup. And most of these, I guess, projects most of the times have somewhat of the same, I guess, kind of pattern, right? Meaning the initial mint out, the FOMO buy up, and then the retrace that happens from the people trying to buy the breakout, and then that actually not happen. And then you actually get in the retrace, and then again, how far that retrace happens to come is kind of, again, really dependent on the pattern that it's set up and how long it took to kind of accumulate that as well. Trying to get this to load. I don't know why it's not loading. Give me one sec. Mine. I was seeing that as well. God. Yeah, this is very clean trend channel that we have. Um, uh, when you're yeah, right. So yeah, I think what you're saying, what you're struggling with is kind of like these major wicks, right? So notice how I kind of drew the trend kind of within where the most of the price action was. Like, yeah, up here we had price action that went down, but really, how much volume was there up there? I mean, not much. Uh, um, yeah. Mm, when I would come down to that, I would be taking the most recent leg. So like really depends where your kind of entry was. So like if I'm drawing a fib from, let's say I didn't have this price action yet on this side. If I'm looking for again the retrace bounce, I'm gonna be drawing from bottom here, bottom range to my top range because I'm looking to retrace. And my numbers should be going 0, 23, 38, 61 down to like 78. And if you put your fibs there, you'd probably see that you hit like a 78 down here, or probably hit the 61 right here. Um, and that in that case, the 61 is pretty much golden ratio. And if we kind of hold above that, we'll we'll want to start projecting to another place. But you at that point you wouldn't be using a retracement. You'd be using something else. Um, but this is where I was telling you, when you because you know kind of how to use those, watching in correlation with this MACD. If you draw your fibs and watch the MACD crossing on that, you'd probably see that there was a blind obvious entry. Um, at that, it was either that 78 or 61, somewhere around here. Um, and again, what helps solidify that is going to be the volume push, but really didn't get continuation in volume until over here, where we actually retested to see, okay, are buyers paying the premium? Because again, we talk about this all the time, right? A range, bottom range, top range, and then we get the retrace. But is the retrace farther than the first bottom? No. And in that case, we're looking for a bull case. And this is where our MACD is going to help us see that solidify like, hey, are bulls actually going to take control here or are they not? But up until here, this is kind of ugly chop action. And you can kind of see with the amount of listings that's kind of happening as well. If this was kind of flipped the other way, this chart would probably keep pushing. Also, look at the amount of holders with the amount of tokens. Look at how they're layered on top of each other. So these people are wanting to kind of get out of a position. Doesn't mean it can't keep running. Just means that you just need more demand to start come kicking in. But we'll go over. Yeah, we'll do. Cool. And if you have trouble kind of like visually seeing that, what I would do is go on the Alpha Sharks, the expert view. And it's kind of a little harder to see with this if they're not revealed. But you can do like ranks. You can see like kind of the outliers because of they're buying for rarity. So you can kind of, I don't know if you have this tool or not, but with Presentify, you can just pretty much see again where's the main range is. Again, you have price action hitting these zones, but where's the bulk of the bunch, you know? And that's pretty much, again, our trend line that we drew in our trading view portion. Just doesn't look as clean, which is why I like using trading view a little more. Yeah, but it'll be good when we start. Good. Mm, exactly. I'm using whatever looks the cleanest, because again, I want to be where there's most liquidity, and if that's on the hour, then I'll be on the hour. If that's on the 5 minute, I'll be on the 5 minute. It really depends on kind of what you're looking to do. Like the lower you get in the time frames, though, the more choppy that you get, because especially if you're revealed, because we have to calculate that rares are being bought. But we do have an algo that kind of converts where we're not seeing these crazy wicks all the time. Because in these time frames, I'm sure there's rares being bought, and they're calculated, but there's an algo here that it kind of buffs it a little bit. So I like being in kind of the bigger time frames to where I'm not seeing as many wicks. So like the 15 solid, it's good, but I feel just a lot cleaner on a bigger time frame. So like a 30 or like an hour. So like I like seeing, again, this is a lot cleaner to me than the 30, I mean the 15. Especially from the volume standpoint. Like that's one of the main things I'm kind of looking at, because again, we can start drawing just little trend breaks on that, and look at what our MACD is telling us right here. We're getting that breakout on volume right here at this apex point. And again, this is a 30 minute, these are 30-minute candles that we're watching. Yeah, but I think if you start utilizing your fibs and watching on the bigger time frame your MACD, if you can get multiple things to line up, like a 30-minute and a 15-minute and a 5-minute, man, it's just telling you to take the trade. Yeah, doesn't mean it'll work, but it has a higher probability of working at that point, because you have buyers that you have buying pressure coming in on the hour, buying pressure coming in on the 30-minute and the 15-minute and the 5-minute. So it's very tough for sellers to kind of overtake that all at once. Yeah. Good question, man. All right. Cool. Solid questions. Were there any other questions that anybody had, or even suggestions, comments, concerns for the tool itself? Can we try to use these sessions to see who's using it, and trying to see who has some solid suggestions to make this a little more efficient. And yeah, trying to get some more statistics here for us to go over. Again, we do have a nice little surprise or little update coming pretty soon that should give us some nice toys to kind of mess with as well. So yeah, if there's no more questions, I'm going to wrap it up here. Just want to thank you guys for coming out. Some people coming out to both sessions, so really appreciate you guys. I know you guys don't have to be here, and yeah, we really appreciate the feedback that you guys give, because without you guys using it, we don't have the tool itself. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming down. I hope you guys took something out of this session today. We will be doing the giveaway today. It's going to be on Twitter again as well. Just doing the one takeaway and tweeting at myself and Alpha Sharks. That will automatically enter you into the giveaway for today. We will be posting that either tonight or sometime this week for the winners. So not many people here today, so you guys get that in. You guys got a good shot to win that. So yeah, really appreciate you guys coming down. Again, hope you guys took something out of this, and we'll catch you guys next week. We will be hosting again 2 more sessions. We do not have confirmed on where those will be yet, but we will post that once we get that out to you guys. So be on the lookout and make sure to get the tweet out, and you guys have a good rest of your guys' week. I'll catch you guys on the next one.